What is the best luxury German saloon? Is it the... I'm going to stop with that stupid accent. Is it the new Mercedes S-Class, the Audi A8 or the BMW 7 Series? Well, in this video, we are going to find out. I sort of look like I run a chauffeur firm and I'm about to pick up a load of celebrities to take them to the movie premiere. Anyway, I'm Matt Watson and you're watching CarWow. Let's start this video by talking about the price, and these cars are reassuringly expensive. The most expensive one is the new Mercedes S-Class, so it starts from around £78,000. The Audi A8, it starts from around £74,000. Yeah, I know we've got the range-topping S8 version, that's because it's the only one Audi had to lend us, but let's move on. We're comparing the ranges, not the individual cars that we have here. The least expensive car, but still quite expensive, is the BMW 7 Series. It starts from £72,000. Right, let's talk about these cars' design, starting with their grilles, because everyone goes on about BMW and its huge grilles, but actually if you look at the area they cover, I think it's the smallest here. Easily the biggest is the Audi, its whole nose is grille. It's just that with the BMW, there's something slightly wrong about it. I think it's the way it just goes up slightly into the bonnet. The Audi, this one looks a bit better than the standard A8, because being the S8, you get some shinier bits of trim, a bit more aggressive. It's good looking, though there's something of the basking shark about it, that huge mouth. I think overall, the best looking face is on the S-Class. It's just kind of elegant, reserved, and of course you've got this three-pointed star. There's just something about that that adds to the appeal. The best are nothing. If you're a VIP being chauffeured to an event, you'll pull up sideways on to get out. And that's why the side profile of these cars matter. They need to look elegant. And this BMW sort of doesn't so much. It's all a bit fussy in the design, from the wheels, this hockey stick affair going on here. And this is even worse because it's the plug-in hybrid. So you've got this extra port there for your charging sockets and stuff like that. Moving on to the Audi, this is a cleaner, simpler design, if a little bit unadventurous. Being the S8, you can't get it in the long wheelbase versions like you can the other two cars, but the long wheelbase version of the A8, which I'll show you now, can look a little bit like a slab of car. Finally, we come to the S-Class, which for me does look the most elegant of the three. Really love the wheel designs, like the swooping roofline, the chrome effect, and the smooth body panels. Looks very modern. And it also has these poppy outy door handles. Look, they pop out. So it just keeps the design nice and smooth. Also, the car can recognise when you're just walking towards it, and it'll automatically sense that you're nearby with the key, and it'll pop out the door handles like that. Neat. Finally then, let's compare these cars' rear ends, because there are some similarities. Notice how they all have this full width chrome strip to make them look sophisticated and posh. Then there's the fact that they've got these exhausts, which are real. Though to be fair, the Mercedes and the BMWs have exaggerated surrounds with normal exhausts inside, whereas the ones on this Audi are genuine proper pipes, though that's because it's the S8 with the high performance V8 engine. If you have a normal A8, then you get fake exhausts.
Stop it. Get some help.
Though overall, I do think this car has the nicest looking rear end. Then the Mercedes, although it's a little bit like, the BMWs just seems a little bit over styled, like they didn't know when to stop designing it. It's like, stop, put your pens down, stop, 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 stop. You know, like at the end of an exam.
I said stop writing. Will you stop writing?
On the inside, the 7 Series design is much better. I think their interior designer is slightly more talented than their exterior designer. Sorry for saying that, if you're watching it, exterior designer. Anyway, it's not just the design which is nice, simple and clean. So are the materials, very high quality, lovely leather here and here, or some soft whatever it is here. Oh, it's nice. Every material is beautiful. You won't find any cheap bits in here at all, nothing. You can look as long as you want, you won't find any. Yeah, it's lovely. Audis are famous for having brilliant interior quality. Though having said that, I don't think the materials feel quite as solid as in the BMW. The main culprit is this dash. It's a bit hollow, listen. See what I mean? And the materials just don't feel quite so expensive. Can't fault the design though. I do prefer it slightly than the BMWs. It's just cleaner and more minimalist, especially when you got the car turned off, because then these screens are blanked out. And I'm going to tell you on, watch this. Not only do the screens come to life, but also the air vents rise and are revealed in the dash. That's really nice. I like that. What I'm not so sure about though is what the person was thinking when they spec'd this car. These weird browny burgundy seats and light headlining. It's odd. Here on the inside, the Mercedes seems even more futuristic than the Audi, and that's mainly because of these big screens you've got here. Now I'll come back to those in a moment because I want to talk about the rest of the interior design, which generally is pretty nice and quality is good, but once again, like the Audi, the hollow dash doesn't feel quite as well screwed together as the BMW, and I have found a really nasty piece of plastic which is right in your eye line. See here, look. Why did they fit that into the S Class? Another thing I'm not so keen on are the vents up here. They sort of spoil the design, and they kind of remind me of the multiple eyes that you get on one of those jumping spiders. It's like, it's going to jump on me. This, being the range-topping version of the S Class, has all the bells and whistles, and the seats are just so luxurious and comfortable, especially with these billows, and the steering wheel is lovely to hold. And then some cool features such as the door mirrors. If you want to operate them, you look at the door mirror, you can see where your eyes are looking, and it will activate that door mirror. I look over there. Don't have to press a button here, just look over there, and then I can move that door mirror. It's crazy. Another thing that it can do is when you put the temperature up, you get red flashing in these LED strips here to signify that the temperature is getting hotter, and then when you cool it down, you get blue flashing in there as well. Very well thought out, this car. Then there's the tech with the screens and everything, which is just insane. So Mercedes Infotainment System is absolutely brilliant, really easy to use, but there's so much you can do with it here. I could bore you senseless. But the thing about it is that it takes the tech on not only incrementally, but a whole sea change over what's in the other cars. So it can do things such as recognise when you're driving home that at a certain point you will make a phone call to your mother, and then it will automatically phone her when you reach that point in your journey. So you can be a good son. It has fingerprint recognition like that. So you press that there, reads your fingerprint, and it sets the car up exactly as you left it. It even has face recognition like your mobile phone, and that will do the same thing with face recognition. It's got all-round cameras for parking, which are brilliant and so high def that you have no excuse for dinging your car. And if someone does ding your car by mistake, say by reversing into it, then the cameras will pick up that accident and it will actually send a video clip of that to your mobile phone just to let you know what happened. There is so much tech. Then there's the main digital driver's display, which has loads of information. You can swipe through all the different menus. You can have it in this 3D view, which you can't actually pick up on camera because you need two eyes for it to work, but it's incredible. Then a massive heads-up display, which can do things like superimpose arrows on the road ahead so you never make a wrong turn. This thing is just an absolute tech fest, and it's useful tech, it really is. The BMW's infotainment system is very good. It works reasonably well. It does pretty much all you need it to. It just looks so funny how small the screens are compared to those in the Mercedes. It's a bit like comparing an Apple iPhone 5 to a 12 Max. But graphics are sharp. It works smoothly. Pretty much does all that you need to do, apart from the digital driver's display, which is one of the most disappointing ever because it's all dark and miserable. Not the biggest fan of that. The infotainment system in the Audi is a bit more like the iPhone 10, so you've got bigger screens than in the BMW. It's no easier to use really, and having the climate down here and a touchscreen means that you have to take your eyes off the road a little bit longer to set the temperature you want. Though, as with all the cars, you can use voice commands if you prefer to do that. I do prefer the digital driver's display on this Audi compared to the BMW though. It's brighter, it's clearer, it's nice, and it does a really good job. Not quite as fancy as the Mercedes, but easily good enough. I know what you're thinking. It's hard to believe that this A8 is actually the short wheelbase version because there's loads of knee room. There's even more space obviously in the long wheelbase version, and with the long wheelbase car you can spec it up with loads of stuff such as fancy seats which you can go into like a first class mode where they're fully reclined, got massage and all that kind of stuff. You can get rear infotainment systems galore. When you fold down this you can get a little tablet there where you can control various things like the interior lighting and stuff like that. It's all very clever, but this car doesn't have any of that. Now one thing I want to show, I do like this though, look at this, this is quality for you. Look how smooth that goes back. Oh, what's not so smooth are the seats. When I say smooth, I mean soft. Audi seats are just a little bit on the firm side. They're not uncomfy, they're actually quite supportive, but you don't feel like you're on a big comfy sofa in them. They're quite taut. Moving on to the 7 Series, and this is the long wheelbase version, and it's well kitted out with all the goodies. Now one thing I've noticed is that I'm getting blinded by the sun, so I'm going to shut all the blinds and everything. But before I do, look, this has some special features in the roof which allow you to shine some ambient lighting in there. Anyhow, let's darken things down, stop the riff-raff looking in and all that kind of thing. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? That? Now these seats, a bit more comfy than the ones in the Audi, though they are the upgraded seats, and I can do stuff such as this. Look, press this button. I want to go into recline mode. It's not quick. Obviously you can't do that if someone's sitting there, or if you're in a rush. The last bit is the best bit. Actually, do you know what? I might just press the massage on while I'm waiting for this to happen. There we go. Come on. Oh, that's a good little footrest that though, look. Quite padded. Nice. Also got my massage on, I've got my feet up, got my infotainment screens there, got my little tablet which I can flop out. There we go, and control the infotainment system. Do whatever I want to do really. Oh, I want to do a test, just like on the Audi. Let's have a look at this. Right, that's for God knows what. I think you can get a fridge in there. But look, watch how this shuts. Is this more expensive, this action, than the one in the Audi? Oh, ooh, yeah. Oh, and the massage seat as well. Finally, we come to the S Class. Now let's check out just how luxurious it is by testing how well bits of it are damped. So this armrest. It's all right. Let's check the cup holder out. Oh, actually, look, you get a little phone holder there. Well, if your phone's not in a case. And then you press it again and that comes out. That's all right. Let's have a look at this. Come on, be good. It's not so good. What about this? What? Mercedes, what have you done? I can't believe you haven't bothered to damp that. Right, that's just rubbish. This car's crap. No, I'm stopping. Sorry, I'm just being a moron. Not funny, is it? Yeah, you pretty much got all the same kind of tech and luxury that you have in the 7 Series. So I can put up my blinds. I can move this seat out of the way, go full business class mode. Takes a while, like in the BMW. And to be fair, if you have it in the Audi, it's a similar story. Now let's just check out whether I can get as comfy in this as I did in the 7 Series. What's it going to do? In fact, while it's doing that, I'll just get this tablet out. You can control loads of the infotainment system functions through this and interior features. I don't have the extra screens like in the back of the BMW, but of course you can pay extra if you want those. Come on, I'm bored of that now. That fits in there nice and neatly. Here comes the footrest. Though I'm a little bit disappointed by this footrest because it really is just more of a part of your heel rest. But still, there's loads of room. And these seats are just a little bit more comfortable than in the BMW and certainly the Audi. The most comfortable bit though, these pillows. Oh, they're especially comfy. They're a bit like resting your head on a big fluffy cloud. Now we need to compare the car's boot capacities, which could be quite dull. So to liven things up, I'm going to mountaineer between the boots. Yeah. So the Audi A8's boot capacity is 505 litres, though if you get the hybrid version, because you've got batteries in the boot, it reduces to 390 litres. Come on, let's see if I can make it across. Thankfully it's quite a square boot, so it's easy to walk along. Not as easy as this 7 Series, nice big wide opening. So the boot capacity of this as standard is 515 litres, but you have the plug-in hybrid, which is what this car is. It reduces to 420 litres, so still better than the A8. Finally then we come to the Mercedes, and its opening isn't quite so big, so it's tricky to load and to mountaineer into. But once you're in, you've got the most space here. 550 litres. There's no hybrid version yet, so I can't tell you if that will reduce the boot capacity. But in the old S Class, the hybrid had the same boot capacity as the standard car. I think you'll agree that was the perfect way to test these cars. I hit my head that hard. Thankfully, I've escaped from the boot, and now I'm going to drive this S Class finally. I say finally, I've already driven it once before. It's good to reacquaint myself though, because it's a lovely thing to travel in. Absolutely lovely. The thing that you really notice or don't notice is the noise. It's so quiet in here. Mercedes has packed this car full of soundproofing. It's just serene, relaxing, chilled. The seats are really comfy. The steering wheel is gorgeous to hold. The air suspension, generally it's just glorious. It's like you're just floating along. It really does feel like you're riding on air. However, it's not perfect. Over smaller bumps, and if you're going slowly around town, like the sharp edge bumps, suddenly catch it out and you get like a shimmy. It's a bit like, well, I wasn't expecting that. It's just so comfy and soft and like you're floating that why did I feel that bump? It's just not what you'd expect. And then sometimes some bad bumps really just kind of confuse it. So I was driving here today and I did this thing where I was accelerating around a corner and I went over some bumps. I'm going to try and describe it to you in pure engineering terms, what happened to the suspension, because as I accelerated over these bumps, the suspension went, it basically just shat itself. I'm sorry if that was too technical an explanation for you, but that's pretty much what the car did. It's unusual because normally, as long as the road's fine, it's so luxurious. It's only occasionally. So that's me splitting hairs on this car though. I've got to try and pull it apart and try and discern the differences between these three great limousines. One thing that I was pleasantly surprised about with this car though, was the handling. So when you turn it into a bend, it does lean a bit, but you get a lot of feel through the steering and through your bottom. You can really get a sense of how it's driving. At the moment, you can only get a 6-cylinder diesel and a 6-cylinder petrol. There will be a hybrid version along. There will be a V8 and a high-performance AMG as well. So lots of choice. The gearbox in this car is really nice as well. 9 speeds, but you wouldn't know because it's very good at finding the right gear when it needs it, and it's smooth. You hardly know it's actually changing gears. Adds to the whole relaxation. Now, if you want to find out more about the engines and some of the tech on the car, then I'll put a link just up there, popping out in the top right hand corner of the screen, and you can watch my full in-depth video review of the S-Class. Full information on engine ranges, economy and all that kind of stuff. There is one thing that I'm a little bit annoyed about, and that's the fact that this S-Class in the UK won't come with rear wheel steering, which is a shame because this Mercedes S-Class has the best rear wheel steering of any car. It can turn the rear wheels by up to 10 degrees, which is insane, but not in the UK. We don't get it. Why not? I don't know. I guess I can live with it because otherwise this car is pretty blooming lovely to just waft about in. That's my being wafted face. Now let's see what this Audi A8, well, the S8 is like to drive, and seeing as it is the S8, the performance version, let's do this first off. Let's experience that twin turbo 4-litre V8, and it absolutely flies. Good job, the car can grip well when you're going around a bend as well. In fact, it can go around corners surprisingly quickly for such a big car. Obviously you've got Quattro all-wheel drive as standard across the range, so you've got that traction which is handy if it's a bit slippy. It's a real confidence-inspiring car, this. Now, I don't think it's quite as quiet as the Mercedes to travel in. The insulation isn't quite as good. It's very little, the difference, but if you're looking out for it and trying to be a motoring journalist that's earning his living, you can notice it ever so slightly. Another thing you notice is the suspension. So this S version has slightly stiffer suspension than the normal A8, but it's still very, very good. You don't get that floaty feel in the same way that you get in the Mercedes, which is like you're being rocked to sleep. But what you don't have either is the suspension getting upset by little bumps like you do in the Mercedes. So it's more consistent. At its height, at the very best, it's not quite as soothing as the Mercedes suspension, but also it doesn't have the low points of the Mercedes suspension, so it averages out as a slightly better riding car, I think. The gearbox is pretty much as good as the Mercedes as well. 8-speed, 1 less ratio, probably doesn't respond quite as well. It's not as smooth as the Mercedes, but very little in it. It's a deeply impressive car, this. Lovely to drive. In fact, it feels a little bit more like just a slightly larger A6 than, say, a full-on luxury limousine in the way that the Mercedes S-Class does. I like it. Just doesn't feel quite as special to travel in as that S-Class. Finally then, the BMW 7 Series. So, BMW, it's going to be the best to drive, the most fun, right? No, it's not. Bizarrely, the Audi seems a bit sharper, and in a way so does the Mercedes. There's a slight disconnect in the driving experience with this 7 Series, and I just don't know why. It's not terrible, and it does that thing where it'll grip well, and it won't topple over in the bends, but it just doesn't seem quite as on it as the others. It's not helping that this is the hybrid, and that obviously means it's heavier than normal. Ooh, running wide there, because you've got the added weight of the batteries, but even so, the 7 Series isn't quite as sharp to drive as an S-Class or an A8. In terms of comfort, it's not far off, you know. It's not quite as soft and floaty as the S-Class, and it's not quite as polished as that A8. It's good, and it's good enough. But when you're back-to-backing them, you do notice the difference. Whereas if you just got in them cold, you'd be more than happy in any of them. Another thing about the BMW is that you do notice a bit more tyre noise than the other two cars. They just create a bit more as you're driving along, although that's only something that you notice when you're going at motorway speeds. So as for engines with this car, there's quite a wide choice. 3-litre straight-six petrols, 3-litre straight-six diesels. This hybrid version, you can get V8. All the engines work well with the gearbox. The 8-speed in the BMW is lovely. Is it better than the Mercedes one? It's close. It's definitely responsive. You don't notice it working away when you're just poodling around. And when you need it to react, it reacts for you, which is exactly what you want, really, isn't it? Now, all these cars are available with clever cruise control systems, which can keep you centrally in lane and keep you safe distance from the car in front. They all work very, very well, and I use them all whenever I drive these cars. But overall, the Mercedes system is the best. So then, what's my final verdict? Which of these cars is best? Well, it's not the BMW 7 Series because it's not quite as good as the Audi A8, which isn't quite as good as the new Mercedes S-Class, because this car leads the field in terms of luxury, technology and image, and that's why it wins this test. Though actually, if I was buying one of these cars, I'd just gone to carwow and save almost £30,000 on the BMW 7 Series, because it's not £30,000 less good than this S-Class. So I suppose the BMW is actually the moral victor. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. If you didn't, why don't you share it to show other people how rubbish the video was? Now, what do you think of my verdict? Did you agree with me? If not, let me know in the comments below. If you want to watch some more executive car content, just watch those videos there. Just click on those, you can go check them out.